What if I told you that the life you dream of already exists? That the reality you yearn for is not waiting for time, chance, or luck to deliver it, but is right now alive, breathing, and waiting within you. Tonight, we will walk through the veil. Tonight, we will stand at the edge of the impossible and step into the end of the story, the place where desire is no longer desire, but destiny fulfilled. This is the secret, to live in the end. The world tells you to begin with what you see, to calculate, to measure, to gather evidence before you dare believe. But the ancient truth whispers something different. You must begin with the unseen. You must begin with the end. For in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was not carved in stone nor written on parchment, but breathed into the living temple of your own imagination. This is the mystery the world overlooks. God became flesh, not to dwell among us, but within us. The infinite closed itself in limitation, so that through you the eternal could awaken. Your imagination is not a fleeting trick of the mind. It is not just fantasy. It is the creative power of God Himself, hidden under the mask of your human thoughts. When you say, "I am," you are speaking the name of God. And when you dare to assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, you are wielding the very force that hung the stars and spun the galaxies into being. But here is the question, the dividing line between dreamers and creators. Can you believe it? Can you believe in the reality of what your senses deny? Can you live in the end when reason mocks you and evidence argues against you? Imagine this. You're standing in the middle of your current life, surrounded by the noise of bills, deadlines, doubts, perhaps even loneliness or failure. Yet within, you carry a secret flame. Close your eyes. Dare to ask, what would it feel like if it were already done? If the job you crave, the love you long for, the healing you need, the success you seek, were all here right now, not someday, not maybe, but now already true. This is not pretending, this is not daydreaming, this is creation. For when you assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, you call the unseen into the seen. You clothe the invisible in flesh. You ignite the law of life itself. Imagination creates reality. Think of a friend, not just yourself, but someone you love. Picture them as they would appear if your desire for them were already fulfilled. If they were prosperous, joyful, radiant, see it, hear it, feel it. Imagine the smile on their face, the words they would speak, the gratitude in their eyes. And as you dwell in that vision, know this: you are not simply imagining, you are resurrecting. You are summoning the unseen into existence. For every man and woman is yourself pushed out. Christ in them as in you. One power, one presence, one life. And so the great responsibility lies not in the world outside, but in the images you dare to hold within. You cannot change another by force, by lecture, or by demand. But in the silence of your own imagination, you can lift them higher. And what you do in the unseen, life will confirm in the seen. The skeptics laugh. They say, "But look at the facts. Look at reality." And they are right to a point. For the world of facts is nothing more than yesterday's imagination made visible. Everything you now touch, wear, use, or behold was once only imagined. The chair beneath you, the device in your hand, the building you sit within. Once a thought, now a fact. So why doubt the process? Why call your imagination unreal when all reality is born of it? Here lies the test. Do you dare remain faithful to the end you cannot yet see? Do you dare walk in the feeling of fulfillment when the world around you shouts the opposite? This is the challenge of faith, to know that within you lives the power that kills and makes alive, wounds and heals creates blessings and curses. And to choose deliberately, unwaveringly to create life, abundance, love, and joy. It is not enough to wish. It is not enough to hear. You must enter the state and dwell there. You must live in the end. Consider this. A young man once looked upon a building. It was not his. His family had been deceived, cheated out of a partnership. Reason told him to walk away. But imagination told him another story. Day after day, twice a day, he saw that building bearing not the name of the current owners, but his family's name. He felt the pride of ownership. He lived in the end. 2 years later, a man appeared, seemingly out of nowhere, offering to purchase the building on his behalf. He had no money, no collateral, only imagination, yet the deal was made. The business grew from nothing to millions, and it all began with a simple, stubborn act of imagining. Do you see? This is not theory, this is law. And now I ask you, what building stands before you today? What dream seems locked behind walls of impossibility? What injustice, what lack, what distance do you see? Look again, for that very barrier is not your enemy, it is your invitation. The world outside is but a mirror of the world within. And when you dare to step beyond appearances, to live as though the end were already here, life itself will bend, reshape, and conspire to make it so. So I ask again, what is your end? Not tomorrow, not in some distant future, but now. Can you see it? Can you feel it? Can you taste the reality of it as though it were already carved into the fabric of your life? The power does not lie in effort nor in struggle. The power lies in acceptance, the acceptance of a state as real before it has taken shape. This is faith, the audacity to claim possession of the invisible. Think of the seed. Within it lies no visible tree, no branches, no shade, no fruit. Yet all of these are contained within that tiny form. The seed does not wait for permission. It does not ask whether the soil believes. It simply unfolds according to its nature. So too with imagination. The end you dare to claim is your seed. The feeling of fulfillment waters it. Your persistence in that assumption is the sunlight that draws it upward. And though your senses may protest, though your reason may deny, the law is unbreakable. What you sow in imagination, you shall reap in reality. But let us go deeper. For some ask, what if I imagine and nothing happens? What if I believe and yet I fail? And the answer is this: what are you imagining now? For imagination never ceases. Every idle thought, every hidden fear, every whispered doubt is also creation. You are always imagining, whether for good or ill. The law is not suspended because you use it unconsciously. The law is impartial. As the rain falls on the just and unjust, so imagination creates both the lovely and the unlovely. But once you awaken, once you recognize that Christ is not a figure in history, but the very power in your mind, then the choice is yours. Then you are no longer a servant of chance, but the master of destiny. Close your eyes. Ask yourself honestly, what am I entertaining right now? Is it worry? Is it resentment? Is it lack? Then do not be surprised if tomorrow's facts bear the likeness of today's fears. But if instead you dare to nurture the feeling of joy, of triumph, of love already fulfilled, then life must, by law, rearrange itself to mirror that inner state. The bridge of incidents will appear. You may call it coincidence. Others may call it luck. But you will know it is the outpicturing of the unseen. It is the seed breaking through the soil. Let us walk for a moment into the theater of the mind. Imagine standing before a mirror that does not reflect your present face, but the face of your fulfilled self, the version of you who already lives the life you desire. How do they stand? How do they smile? What light burns in their eyes? This is no fantasy. This is revelation. For that self is not separate from you. It is you, waiting to be claimed. And when you step into that image, when you wear it as naturally as your own skin, you are not pretending, you are resurrecting. You may ask, but how do I remain faithful? How do I live in the end when the world around me shouts the opposite? The answer is to practice the art of inner hearing, to listen, not to the clamor of facts, but to the whisper of fulfillment. Tonight, as you lay down to sleep, do not drift into unconscious repetition of the day's frustrations. Instead, clothe yourself in the end. If it is wealth you seek, hear the voice of a friend congratulating you. If it is health, hear them say, "I've never seen you look better." If it is love, feel the embrace, the presence, the companionship, and fall asleep in that state. For the moments before sleep are the fertile soil of creation. There in the silence between waking and dreaming, the seed takes root. Now let us look outward again. The world says, work harder, earn your worth, fight for your chance. But creation says, enter the state, dwell in it, rest in the end. For it is not effort that creates, it is assumption. Effort belongs to the bridge of incident, the unfolding path by which your assumption becomes fact. But assumption itself, that belongs to you now, in this very moment. So do not ask, how will it happen? That question binds you to doubt. Ask instead, what would it feel like if it were already so? Then dwell in the answer. History itself bears witness to this law. Robert Frost, near the end of his life, declared that the founding fathers of America did not believe in the future. They believed it in. They were under a king, without evidence, without power, yet they dared to assume the reality of a free nation. They lived in the end, and history bent to their vision. So too with you. Whatever chains appear to bind you, whatever evidence rises against you, it is all but shadow. The only power lies in the end you choose to inhabit. And now let me tell you something many forget. You cannot live in the end for yourself alone. For every man is yourself pushed out. When you lift another, you lift yourself. When you imagine lovingly for a friend, you are shaping the world you also must walk through. Do you know someone in despair? Do not pity them. Do not reinforce their state by agreeing with their complaint. Instead, see them radiant, whole, triumphant. Hear them telling you of their success. Feel their joy as though it were already real. And without their knowledge, without their permission, you have planted a seed in the unseen that must blossom in their life. This is the highest gift you can give. Not things, not favors, not temporary relief, but the knowledge of who they truly are, that within them dwells the Christ, the creative power of God waiting to be stirred into life. But now we stand at a greater threshold. For it is not enough to use imagination as a tool for desires. It is not enough to summon wealth, health, or success. These are but the shadows of a deeper truth. The ultimate revelation is this: God became man, that man might become God. The journey is not from rags to riches, nor from sickness to health, but from ignorance to awakening, from seeing imagination as mine to realizing imagination is God Himself, dreaming through me. And when this dawns upon you, not as theory, but as experience, your life will never again be ordinary. So let us take this revelation deeper. To live in the end is not merely to craft a better circumstance, it is to awaken to your true identity, that you and God are not two, but one. The world has taught us to worship a distant deity, a figure painted in history, someone out there who may, if pleased, grant us favor. But the secret Scripture declares is different. The Word became flesh and dwells within us, not beside us, not above us, within us. And what is this Word? What is this Christ in man? It is your imagination, the eternal body of man, the voice that says, I am, the formless presence that can become anything it assumes. Pause here and feel the weight of it. The creative power that spun the galaxies, that carved rivers through stone, that called light from darkness, that power beats in you. It is not a metaphor. It is not a symbol. It is literal. When you imagine, you create. When you assume, you give life. When you persist, the invisible becomes visible. And yet so few dare. Why? Because the senses mock them. Reason whispers it cannot be, but faith is the courage to deny appearances. Faith is the audacity to claim the unseen as already true. When you walk in this way, you are not escaping reality, you are defining it. Let me take you to the silence of the night, where the real work is done. Before sleep, strip away the noise of the day. Lay down resentment, worry, failure, and instead dress yourself in the garment of fulfillment. Feel it as though it were true now, not in some vague way, but with all the sensory vividness you can summon. Hear the voice that congratulates you. Feel the weight of the ring on your finger, the warmth of the hand that placed it there. Smell the air of your new home, the leather of the chair in your office, the salt of the sea on the shore of your success, and drift to sleep in that state. For the subconscious, the womb of creation, receives in that moment what you impress upon it. Night after night, as you persist, the seed hardens into fact, and one day the world will call it real. But you will know it was real long before they saw it. Do not be surprised if life reshuffles itself in strange ways to deliver your end. You may lose a job only to step into a better one. You may be rejected only to be led to the place where you truly belong. Do not resist the bridge of incident. Do not cling to appearances. Trust the law. Remain faithful to the end, for as the prophet declared, the vision has its appointed hour. It will ripen, it will flower. If it be long, then wait. It is sure, and it will not be late. But hear this also, imagination is no idle toy. It is not a harmless fantasy. It is the power of life and death. You can bless and you can wound. You can lift and you can destroy. Therefore, I urge you, as one who has seen it work, use it always lovingly. Do not indulge resentment. Do not rehearse revenge. For what you imagine for another, you also plant for yourself. The world you walk through tomorrow will be shaped by the images you hold today. So let your imagination be a fountain of blessing. See others radiant, joyful, victorious. Lift them in the silence of your mind, and you will walk through a world lifted with them. Perhaps you wonder, but is this all there is? To imagine better jobs, better homes, better fortunes? No. These are shadows of the greater mystery. The true purpose of this law is to awaken you to your identity, that you are God dreaming as man. For one day you will experience what Scripture calls resurrection, not at the end of time, not in a far-off heaven, but here, in your own being. You will discover that you were never a creature seeking God, but God Himself, who chose to forget in order to awaken anew. And when this realization dawns, life itself is transfigured. The petty fears, the anxious grasping, the endless striving, they dissolve. For you know that all power rests within, that the end is never in question, that you are not becoming, you are. Let me tell you of a man who tested this. He was condemned by his employers, told he was worthless, that he would be dismissed. His family depended on him. Fear gripped him. But a friend who knew this law imagined for him. Not pity, not sympathy, but praise. He heard the man's employers honoring him, celebrating his work. Within 48 hours, their attitude was reversed. Praise replaced condemnation. Yet the blow left a scar, and the man resolved to leave. He had no money, no prospects. Yet his friend again imagined, not unemployment, not despair, but a new position with higher pay. And soon the offer came precisely as imagined. Do you see? The law does not fail. We fail only when we forget who we are. So I ask you now, what would you dare assume tonight if you knew it must come to pass? What dream would you live in if you were no longer bound by fear? Close your eyes. Step into it. Do not wait for permission. Do not ask the world's approval. For you need no man's consent, you need only your own decision. Dwell in the end. Speak from it. Think from it. Act from it. And watch as life bends to your assumption. But here lies the final, hidden treasure. Even beyond the fulfillment of desires, beyond the reshaping of circumstances, beyond wealth, beyond love, beyond health, there is a greater awakening. It is the recognition that the I am within you is the eternal one, that Christ is not a distant figure, but the imagination in which you live, move, and have your being. And when you awaken fully to this, you will know, I and my Father are one. So let us finish where we began. The end is the beginning. To live in the end is to live in truth. The seed is already the tree. The desire is already the fulfillment. The dream is already the fact. Therefore I tell you, walk as though it were true. Sleep as though it were true. Rejoice as though it were true. And soon the world itself will echo your assumption. For with God, all things are possible. And with man, who is one with God, all things are possible to him who believes. So tonight, dare to assume, dare to live in the end, and you will discover that the end was never far away. It was always within you. It was always now. If these words stirred something within you, if you felt even a spark of truth rise in your heart, then do not let it fade. Live in the end. Begin tonight. And if this message lit a fire in you, share it with someone who needs to remember who they are. Subscribe to this channel, join this journey, and together we will awaken to the power that creates worlds. For the story is not theirs, it is yours, and it begins now.